Let me tell you, if you ever want to know what defeat smells like, walk into a grocery store on a Tuesday morning, right after payroll cuts and a bad manager have sucked the life out of the place. That's exactly what I felt the second those automatic doors slid open. Stale air, shelved a mess, and this heavy, miserable silence that clung to everything. I walked in, wearing an old jacket and a ball cap pulled low, hands deep in my pockets. No one knew it was me, Daniel Grayson, founder of this entire chain. And honestly, that's exactly how I wanted it. I'd built Grayson's Market from scratch, 18 stores, hundreds of employees, all on the belief that if you treat your people right, they'll treat your customers even better. But lately, that belief had started to feel like a bad joke. Complaints kept rolling in, shelves went empty, the staff looked defeated. Still, when an anonymous letter hit my desk saying someone inside was being crushed by the very system I created, the higher-ups just shrugged it off. Lazy workers always whining, they said. But I couldn't shake it. I had to see for myself. So there I was, blending in, wandering the aisles. The atmosphere? You could cut it with a knife. The only sounds were the beeps from the checkout and an old vent rattling overhead. That's when I saw Kendra. 30-something, hair pulled back, trying to hide the fact that her eyes were swollen from crying. I watched her wipe a tear away with her sleeve, just as a manager named Troy came storming out of the back, red-faced, clipboard slamming on the counter like a warning shot. Crying on shift again, he barked, not even lowering his voice. How many times do I have to tell you? If you can't keep it together, quit. Kendra swallowed, hands shaking, and apologized like she'd been caught stealing, not just being human. Troy leaned in, voice low and threatening. Don't be surprised if your shift next week disappears. No one spoke up for her. Not a soul. I felt my hand ball up in my pockets. It wasn't discipline. It was intimidation, plain and simple. After he stomped off, I kept my distance, pretending to study the canned goods, but watching Kendra. She didn't cry out, didn't fight back, just went on with her work like nothing happened. That's the part that hurt most, watching someone push themselves to keep going when they're about to break, because there's no other choice. The store was just broken. A kid stocking shelves stubbed his toe. No one even glanced his way. An old lady waited for service for minutes, ignored. Even in the break room, it wasn't any better. I lingered outside the door at lunch, heard soft sobbing. Kendra's voice, raw, saying she just couldn't do it anymore, that she tried, but it never mattered. Her hours cut. Rent overdue, couldn't afford gas. Another voice, probably that young guy from Frozen Foods, whispered that Troy punished anyone who needed time off for their kids or got sick. I stood there, frozen. I'd read financial reports and wage studies for years, but nothing prepares you to hear one of your own break down because she can't make it home. I followed Kendra outside. After her shift, call it curiosity, call it guilt, maybe both. She walked to this battered old sedan, dug through her wallet for change, literally, a handful of coins to buy gas. When she finally just crumpled beside her car, sobbing alone in the parking lot, that was it for me. I'd seen enough. I wasn't just a CEO checking up on numbers. I was the only one left who could fix this mess. Next day, I showed up as the new guy, fake name tag and all. Got stuck next to a sharp kid named Marcus, who welcomed me, but told me not to expect much conversation. Less trouble that way, he muttered, barely glancing up from the cereal boxes. I quietly asked how long he'd been here. 2 years, he said, but these last weeks had been the worst. Troy, the manager, had started swapping schedules to punish anyone with kids or personal stuff if you stayed quiet. You got more hours, but if you ever spoke up, he'd cut you out. Kendra, he whispered, had missed shifts only because her kid had an asthma attack, begged for a change, but no one cared. Her hours? Down to just 15 a week. Barely enough to live on. That night, I managed to log into the scheduling system CEO privileges, I looked up Kendra's hours, sure enough, down from 32 to 9 in just a few weeks. Marcus, Linda, Jorge, same story. But Troy's favorites? All steady or even better than before. He was using the schedule as a weapon, plain and simple. I walked into Troy's office, calm as I could manage. Asked about Kendra's hours, she barely looked up, just said she was unreliable, always had an excuse. This isn't a charity, he smirked. Cutting hours, trimming payroll, corporate loves it. I realized then this guy was proud of it. He actually thought no one would ever call him out. Well, he was wrong. Next morning, I ditched the cap and coat. Walked in wearing my best suit, CEO badge gleaming. When I stepped through the doors, the air changed. Some employees recognized me. Right away the whispers started. Kendra froze behind the counter, wide-eyed. I headed straight for the service desk, where Troy was nursing his coffee, too busy with paperwork to notice the storm about to hit. I stopped right in front of him, leather shoes shining, voice steady as steel. Good morning. He looked up, confused, then pale. When I flashed my badge, his coffee nearly spilled. I'm the one who saw everything, heard everything. Now I want a word with the manager. He tried to bluster, called it a misunderstanding, said he was just optimizing costs. I laid it out, right there, in front of everyone. Cutting hours for a single mother with a sick kid, how is that running a store? He tried to protest, but no one backed him up. Not a word. I asked for the keys. He handed them over, pale as a ghost, and just like that done. After Troy left, I called the staff to the break room. The room was packed. Some sat, some leaned against the wall, hands still dirty from the floor. I stood there, nothing between me and them. I failed you, I said. I let this place turn into something it was never meant to be. That changes today. Then I turned to Kendra. Kendra, the one who never stopped trying. I asked her to become assistant manager. Her eyes got huge, hands shaking, but I meant it. You've already done the job, I told her. Now let's make it official. The first thing she did? Tore through the old schedules, saw just how deep the damage went. Single moms on impossible shifts, kids home alone, exhausted staff forced into corners. She started fresh morning shifts for parents, limits on consecutive nights, open door for any concerns. Every change hammered into the system, one line at a time. At the next team meeting, Kendra stood up front, voice a little shaky, but clear. She admitted she'd been scared to speak up, but that it was over now. The schedule would fit real lives, not punish people for having them. There was no loud cheer, just a long, deep exhale, the sound of relief, of people finally able to breathe again. Days passed. The store didn't turn into Disneyland overnight, but something shifted. Marcus helped an old lady find her groceries. Linda hummed while restocking. Kendra handed a sticker to a little girl, her own smile almost surprised at itself. I came back a week later, no fanfare, just to see. The air was lighter. Shelves full, people chatting. The work wasn't easier, but hope is a stubborn thing, it spreads. I stopped by checkout, told Kendra, you didn't just earn this, you claimed it. Every day you stood back up. She looked at me, tears in her eyes, but standing tall. I used to think I was replaceable. Not anymore, I told her. She changed more than a schedule. She gave us our soul back. She ended every shift now by writing on a slip of paper taped to her office wall. Schedules exist to support, not to punish. Simple, right? But that's how you build a place where people want to stay. So let me ask you, when was the last time you stood up, not just for yourself, but for someone who couldn't? Or maybe you've been Kendra, showing up, fighting through when the system pushed you down. If this story hit home for you, leave a single dot in the comments. We're listening. And sometimes that's where real change starts.